This was something that came up. I was listening to Beckloff's live stream, and this was something that I had thought before. I thought maybe I should put out there because of all these, especially the male feminists who are so upset that there's anti-feminists that exists and stuff like that. But and that the feminist movement, the open borders, we should be taking in all sorts of refugees, stuff like that. Um, how you all are really quite openly among one another. The idea that you would fundamentally make the Anglosphere have so many people immigrating from non-European countries that it would become sort of this Brazil-like place. Um, that people would be just sort of beautiful and brown, and all the women would have giant asses, or something like that. Um, the thing that now, of course, has become obvious. The Olympics happened in Brazil, and everybody got to hear stories and see all the pictures of how just ruinous the nation state is. That there's people who wouldn't stay on the actual land of Brazil. They were in yachts on the water because it was better than any possible place on the actual land of Brazil. I think that was one of the various American teams. It might have been the American basketball team, possibly. Um, People getting ill from drinking the water and such. So it's like, oh yeah, yeah, that's. But there's some other issue is what is going on there. It has nothing to do with the history of Brazil, the populations that are in Brazil, the very small amount of time they had mass immigration from Europe, which is why there's anything modern built there, is because they went out of their way to get people from like Germany and Italy to move there. Just look it up. And now, I mean, look at the names of the people who run the country. Look at their last names. Look at the names of like the 50 most important people in Brazil. You're going to see a lot of German names because they just rose to the top. These were normal ass people, and they rose to the top because there is a difference between groups of people. They brought cultural capital. That's why countries imported them. Um, that's why you import some people as slaves. You import other people saying we have jobs. And then you have other importations where you have people who you're like, maybe there's a job, but we definitely have topiary for you to cut. And a lot of you are the anti-feminist crowd. Don't want to deal with then. Do you want the level of crime of Brazil, where police stations are grenaded? Let's move to someplace a little more probably your taste, someplace you maybe have visited, such as Germany. Should America have a policy that causes Cologne, Germany, like in any at public fairs, in the grocery store? Like, what would happen in America if if people who were coming into this country had sexual emergencies in public pools? What do you think would happen to those people? What do you If you found out that there was a police department that was looking the other way while like all the girls in town were getting raped by some strange enclave of people from another country? Could you imagine like what it would be like to deal with the townsfolk in America with the Second Amendment? And so then it comes to this, feminist. Am I supposed to feel okay knowing that that could happen? Any Cologne, Rotherham, The huge sex ring busted a couple of years prior to that. I think it was 2 or 3 years prior to that. It was like some up in the thousands. Like what sexual emergency, what Muslim attack am I supposed to like look the other way of? Or am I supposed to be like, oh no, refugees, smefugees, we're it's all the same, bro, and everything, borderless world, yada yada yada. Did any of you see what these ISIS fighters do to Christian women? I woke up like for weeks looking at pictures on Twitter of, like the leftovers of humans after ISIS would show up. Am I supposed to look the other way? Well, that's a possibility. That could very well be potentially be building up, and I'm supposed to just be like, oh no, you see, you don't want to be rude. It's very rude to bring up that some people follow an ideology that the penultimate person of humankind was horribly violent to anybody who did not follow his orders, because God made him, the penultimate of humans. Like, I don't even understand how people in the West write this in another language in their mind, and then in some way like think, no, this is cool. They're like, oh no, but you see, Jesus said he brought the sword. It's like, Muhammad, it says he killed all the Jews in town, like all of them. He wiped all the Jews out just in that town. Like, you could. He went back to Mecca and killed everybody who didn't submit. Like, what are you not getting? Like, what are you not getting about, like, the elaborate tortures he would do on people? And just these things where I'm like, how have you never heard any critique of this religion in a way that it cites their own sources about the man? And that it's their sources. Like, this is why they do that to women. You're supposed to. That's what Muhammad would have done. And I just love this idea, like, you're walking around in yoga pants in America, and like somehow you're being oppressed. So you all are pretty much done as a movement, because this is now far beyond anything like rationality. This is far beyond argument that you make sense when you say it. Now this is really like, wait, why are you so fascinated with this extremely dangerous immigration policy? Like, what is so interesting about that? Like, why? And it's of interest. That's the big thing, is why is it in your interest? Because that's the big issue with politics, is political interests. I don't have the same interests as an evangelical Christian in total. I have some similar political interests. I'm a libertarian, so there's certain tax issues and issues about property rights that they dovetail. But there's a whole bunch of stuff that they would be into that I might not necessarily be. And that's why there's so many different representatives. And the Constitution. You all have tweaked the bureaus. And then when somebody tries to stop the bureaus, so really the person who is supposed to stop the bureaus because they were elected to, then you all you light cities on fire. This is all of this is associated. You're a team. And you're a team now that even goes into uniform. So anti-feminists, what are we supposed to do? Or I'm sorry, feminists, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to just let you, like, act like none of this is happening? That your friends don't burn and destroy? That You have dangerously insane immigration policies that you don't really seem to acknowledge what is known knowledge about who you're so into having here. Have you ever looked up what, like, beheadings in Mexico? Like, have you ever looked up just Mexico's, like, crime? Like, just, like, pictures, just good images. Crime in Mexico. Like, have you ever looked any of this up? And there's this part of it that's like, oh, well, you see, because America does. It's like, but what's really odd, though, is have you ever heard of somebody doing that to another person outside of a movie? In, like, I mean, really, like, in a modern country. Have you ever heard of people doing that to each other? Because don't they have TV and books, trucks, houses, plumbing? Don't they have all these things? But I mean, that they prostitute out whole towns full of women, beheadings, bodies left in the street so that everybody could see that there's some group of killers that you shouldn't cross, weird secret societies of assassins and murderers that just kill left and right, and people are like, oh, this is fine. Like there's no, when someone says, well, it's obviously a failed state, they're like, how dare you? We're like, no, we have to build a wall. People get killed in these insane ways in your country, and they're like, how dare you? What are we supposed to do about such insane behavior? I don't want to see you get raped in public. I don't want to see people I know get beheaded. I don't like. Have you ever heard of being shanked? I remember people when I was in high school getting shanked. Kid got shot outside of my fucking high school. And it wasn't some tough high school. I just don't understand it. Have none of you ever even been punched in the face? Like, do you not understand what violence actually is? I think you just need to look up images from the places of people who you desperately want them to come in here. Like, people don't like them because they're from this land and white penis. So mean, white penis. Why don't you look up what those people are running from? Because your team is the one who controls most of the bureaus, is making all the trouble for us to actually regulate in some responsible way who is entering the country. And it's because we're really worried that at some point somebody might do violence to especially women or children, because we tend to be kind of conservative, and we know women and children can't defend themselves as well as men with guns, thanks to the Second Amendment. What are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to act like it? Like, are we supposed to do what's happening in Europe? Are we supposed to act like the Swedes? This is fine. Just sit there. This is fine. Act like the British. This is fine. Just bend over. Take the use marmalade as you ream out the jihadis. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And that's the thing, it is worthy of ridicule. This is why Anita Sarkeesian and all them, they're so mad. So mad. Because they are worthy of ridicule now. All of you all of you feminists who you desperately want to take on the anti-feminist, it's like, what do you got? What outcome of your worldview do you got that you could be like, see, that's what you want life to be like? You don't got nothing. Everybody, including even liberal women, they're always looking back to that base of cultural capital and wealth pre-1970s. That's what they always look back on. That's what all their fashions go back to. It's what all the imagery that they like in their advertising, it's all pre-70s. It doesn't mean they necessarily want to be in the kitchen with a rolling pin as their best friend for hours on end or whatever. But it doesn't mean they want to bake cakes endlessly and cook steaks. But it does mean that they sure would like to have the opportunity. A kitchen, fridge full of food, affordable, nice clothes. See, that's 1950s. And this is the thing. A lot of you feminists, you're not getting. That's rational. That takes rational thought to understand that. Oh, this is actually what you are dressing like. Oh, you like this singer? You wouldn't know why? Because she sounds like that singer back there. Yeah, you don't know why. You don't know why. But I'm going to use it against you. I'm going to use it against you. I'm going to twist your mind. And eventually you're going to be sitting there wondering who's going to put a ring on that finger. At some point you're going to think about it. It's going to be hard for you to put all this stuff back together because it won't dovetail right. Oh, letting people in who want to kill your children, who openly are like, no, fuck you and fuck your kids, fuck you and your kind. You're going to be like, oh, I want a baby that kind of looks, a lot like my family. You're going to try to deny it. You're going to try to do everything you can, but you're going to end up, you're going to get Chad will forget your history. Only Chad will put that ring on your finger. Watch. Say I'm wrong. Say I haven't watched this for a long time. I've seen a lot of different kinds of people. Not many places, but a lot of different kinds of people. At some point, you want Chad. Put a ring on that finger. But Chad, he just doesn't like the idea of gunplay with Los Zetas. And so at some point, you're going to have to convince him that you don't like that either.